No sound there?
No sound there. Okay. She's trying to figure it out.
Nope, that's not the one I'm looking for.
Yeah, it just, whenever I reset OBS, it disconnected.
No sound there. No sound there.
Yeah.
She's trying to figure it out.
All right, we got it. Got this while we do sound tests. Sound tests. Town tests.
Townseston.
Yeah, we're town testing. All right.
Got this while we do town test.
This is Affinity. This is Andrea Yount with Affinity Counseling Services. We are preparing for Therapy Thursday Live, our weekly broadcast on mental health topics. Our topic for January is New Year, New You. Today's topic is keeping promises. Affinity Counseling Services is located in Piggott, Arkansas and Kennett, Missouri. We are currently have 4 therapists in our office and are taking new clients. To join our wait list, visit counselingwithaffinity.com. To find out more, you can call Kindred at 870-324-5122, or if you're in the Kennett area, you can call us at 573-840-0440.
And A Lovely Pause is an employee-ran website that offers community, coping skills, and resources to women that are healing from trauma. This month, you can become a subscriber to our newsletter and get a free set of journal prompts for self-reflection.
All right, this is a test.
Whenever you're ready, Kindred. Good job.
Feels tighter.
Therapy Thursday normalizes discussing mental health topics in a safe, supportive environment, because not being normal is normal.
Welcome, everyone, to Therapy Thursday, our weekly installment here at Affinity Counseling Services, where we talk about different mental health topics from a personal and professional perspective. My name is Matthew Yount, President of Affinity Counseling. To my right is my wife and Vice President,
Hey.
Andrea, and also now President of A Lovely Pause.
A lovely pause.
A nonprofit.
Yes.
Soon, I mean, you're a nonprofit now, right?
Yes, we're a nonprofit. We're waiting on our 501c3 to go through. But
Sweet.
we're having one of our first official big meeting tonight in person, and I'm super excited about it because we have a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of stuff to decide and go over, and I will have way more information probably about this next week. So
Sweet.
look forward to that.
All right. And to our right is Stacy, our marketing director, and something for A Lovely Pause. What are you doing for A Lovely Pause?
I am vice president of A Lovely
What?
Pause. Yeah.
Congratulations.
It's very exciting, and it's very exciting to see how everything's progressing. And Andrea's been just doing so much with getting all of the pieces in place, and we've got a wonderful board of people that are all like super talented, amazing women. Women ran, y'all.
I have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, they actually, like, when Stacy started this way back, and like when she filled it out, she must have put Matt's name on something, I guess, or maybe how we paid for it or whatever. It had Matt's name as far as shipping. So when I got the actual, like, our corporate book, and it says like A Lovely Pause on it and everything, it said, "Dear Matt Yount," and I called him and I was like, his name's not on this. Like, this is me.
Thank you.
This is my baby.
Glad you did that. I don't need any other responsibilities anyway. And behind the camera, as always, taking your comments, questions, and concerns, but unable to speak today due to mic issues,
Yeah.
Kindred. Hello.
Yes, and she is also the secretary of the board for Lovely Pause.
Yes, absolutely.
So she's on the board as well.
So it's really cool. So a lot of good things happening there. We are still trucking along with our Kennett office, and we've had a lot of growth and new opportunities occur in just the last few years, and we're really excited to continue on. And I'm excited to see what A Lovely Pause is able to bring, which was kind of like ties into our topic about like New Year, New You. The resolution. This thing for you is I guess, a goal or a resolution, the creation of a lovely pause.
It's more than just the culmination of like a New Year's resolution. It's like the culmination of like years of effort and working towards this goal, and it's finally coming to fruition. And so, like you said, it goes into like keeping promises to yourself, because there have been plenty of times, and you can ask these three people sitting at this table with me because they've been here along the journey. There have been plenty of times that I've wanted to be like, it's not going to happen. I don't know that that'll ever happen. Or I'll want to just be like, oh, this is too hard. I don't want to do it. This is putting myself outside of my comfort zone. I don't think I can do this, and all of these things. So I've had to make these promises to myself and then force myself to keep them, because there have been plenty of times that I did not want to keep them. I wanted to just give up because it was too hard or too uncomfortable or something that I felt like I couldn't do.
Yeah, so this started out as like your own personal blog.
Yes.
And it's grown now into a nonprofit organization that primarily is going to support helping those who have suffered from trauma
Yes.
get some type of treatment, either through mental health, through trauma-informed yoga, through some type of physical work, maybe like exercise or gym, but basically helping somebody with the mental, physical, spiritual side,
Yes.
the entire balance that goes along with healing trauma.
Yes, eventually we would like for, at first, A Lovely Pause will start off as just, helping people to pay for these. Eventually we would like to be able to have a space of our own where we can offer some of these things, as far as like the workshops and yoga and working out and those things for other people.
Very cool. So
Yeah.
our topic for today, going along with the New Year, New You, is we're discussing like keeping promises to yourself.
Yes.
Okay. So, if you can't lie to yourself, who can you lie to? But that's the person we lie to the most. Which is such a weird concept to consider. It's like, if you're lying to yourself, what part of you is lying to what other part of you? Because it's, in order to lie, you have to knowingly tell something that is false to another individual in order to try to get them to believe what you're saying. So when you're lying to yourself, what are you actually lying to?
I feel like you're trying to speak things into existence and I don't really believe in that, but you know what I mean? You're trying
Should we break out our copy of The Secret?
I'm just saying, I feel like you're trying to say things to make them happen, like for yourself. You're trying to be like, okay, if I say this, then maybe it'll keep me accountable. Maybe I'll say, maybe I'll do it if I say it, but then that's not true. So then you just say it and then you don't end up doing it, because saying it isn't making you do it.
It's not the actions that it's the
Exactly.
following through. I was also thinking of like how we all have like these blind spots, like the parts of ourselves that are our weak points, and that a lot of times we're unaware of some of those things, but sometimes we are aware of them, but we make justifications or excuses or whatever, like to and that's that lying to ourselves, like we're lying to our blind spot, oh, that's that happened because this person did this, and
Yeah.
if they hadn't done that, then it would have went totally different. And then we just lie to our blind spot because it's easier than facing the blind spot.
Exactly. Or we blame it on circumstances, right? Well, this happened and and sometimes there isn't anything you can do about it. But sometimes it's that happened and you take a break, and like we talked about last time, you just decide not to pick it back up again. And that's on you. Like, you have to be that person who's going to be like, okay, I made this promise to myself. I said I wanted to do this. If you really want it, then if something does happen where it takes you out of that for a little bit, you have to go right back in and pick it up again.
Yeah, you have to persevere, right?
Yeah.
Because there was so many hurdles, like with getting this nonprofit going.
Yes.
And like, as an example, it's a great example of like having to continue like with that perseverance despite circumstances,
Yes.
to fight the obstacles that are coming,
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So you get into these I think you get into these arguments with your ego a lot of times.
Oh, yeah.
I think what happens is the ego, or the idealized self that you think you're supposed to be to match up to whatever standard, is sitting there like griping at you and complaining at you. I really think it's the inner critic. And if you really like look at like people's different personality traits, we have these different types of personalities that exist within us. And this is why people can actually have dissociative identity disorder, which is what used to be known as multiple personality disorder, where different aspects of them take over and become the dominant personality.
Yeah.
But we all have those things in us. It's not like somebody with that disorder just manifested those things and that makes them completely different from everybody else. Mental illness is usually just an exaggeration
Right.
one way or the other to a mental state that already exists. So we have these idealized versions of ourselves, and a lot of times they're very different or very succinct in their purpose. So like the inner critic is supposed to exist as a means of trying to, when functioning healthy, keep you objective and help you question yourself and question the world around you, but mostly
Right.
question you. Questioning things like, are you doing the right thing here? Is there a better way we could do this? Did you put your best effort into that? That would be a healthy, idealized inner critic. If you don't have a healthy inner critic, then let's say you just don't have one at all and it's completely underdeveloped, then you're narcissistic. You just believe everything you do is awesome and you have no internal voice telling you anything different.
Right.
And if you have one that's overdeveloped, then you have a circumstance where you look at yourself always through the lens of critique. Nothing you do is correct. So you take this idealized version of yourself that you get from society, other forces, family members, whatever it is, and then the critic like takes that form and like, look what you're not doing.
Yes.
Look what you're not doing. You're not meeting this standard. Don't you want to meet this standard? And so you just kind of lie to yourself to get it to stop. You go to yourself like, yeah, sure. I'm going to go start working out, or I'm going to do better with my money, or I'm going to like call my mom because I'm a good son. You know, I'm going to do the things that I'm supposed to do just to get that other part of me to shut up long enough, and then I have no intention of actually following through with it to begin with. I just lied to myself
So
to
that-
get that part of me to shut up.
So it's like it's like mental compulsion. So you have a mental obsession, and then that's your mental compulsion is saying that you're gonna do it even though you have no intention to do it. So
Yeah.
that means you have OCD in that moment.
Well, yeah, to a degree. But
I mean,
think,
if you do that often, if that's a disorder for you, that's a mental compulsion. That's an obsession and then a mental compulsion.
yeah, but I think a lot of people have learned to lie to other people as a means of staying within socially accepted bounds. So what they do is they project a lie that other people will find pleasing. And that's the kind of lie that they live. And you can see this on Facebook. People will try to present their ideal life like, oh, look, me and my husband or boyfriend, we love each other, and look at my amazing kids, and look at my dog, and they don't ever project any of the negative things happening, and yet their marriage is like barely holding together. Their finances are terrible. Their dog bites them all the time. It's a terrible circumstance, but they're always trying to project whatever the correct image is to make themselves believe they're fitting some type of standard. And I think that is the person that most of us lie to. Most of us internally lie to that part of ourselves to get it to leave us alone.
Yeah.
When we have no real intention of actually following through.
Yeah.
So I think in order to get through the idea of lying to yourself, you have to have the capability for self-reflection. So you participate in self-reflection quite a bit.
Yeah, that's what a lovely pause is.
Well, so why?
Take a lovely pause and then self-reflect.
So what is it about? Why do you think most people don't self-reflect?
Because it's hard and you have to face a lot of ugly truths about yourself.
Yeah, like what makes it hard? Just because you're facing ugly truths?
And because you have to, if you haven't allowed yourself to feel emotion, you have to feel that emotion that you haven't allowed yourself to feel, which doesn't feel good. It's uncomfortable. Like anything, like any type of purge or any type of cleanse or any type of healing or any type of whatever you want to call it, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Like you're going to have to feel the things you haven't been wanting to feel. You're going to have to face the things and talk about the things you haven't been wanting to talk about. You're going to have to think about them and process them and all of these things that you have been avoiding for so long, for so hard. That's compiled on top of each other. You're going to have to do that. You're going to have to face that.
Yeah, and you're right. It's not a comfortable experience, but it's one that can be it's certainly rewarding, but
Definitely rewarding.
it
yes.
becomes inviting after some time when you get not so scared of it anymore.
Yeah, or whenever you see how it's affecting other people. Like
Yeah.
if you see how it's affecting other people's lives, you're like, oh, okay. Well, maybe I need to do some of that then.
Yeah, sure. Well, how many people do you think, maybe percentage wise, as a guess, don't even know that there is a self to reflect upon?
Oh, I mean, I don't know how to answer that as a 38-year-old. I would ask Kindred that question, but she can't talk. Because
You cannot speak, Kindred.
because like I feel like I didn't realize that until I was in my mid-20s. Like, and so I don't know if that's just something that I realized because I started this healing journey, started going, having these conversations with you, talking and, going to therapy, that kind of thing. I don't know that I ever would have grown out of that. I don't know, because that was my experience.
50%? Yeah, probably.
Kindred
I think
said
that's fair.
50%.
50%. Yeah, and I think that does vary with age group. You happen to be more aware and in touch with those parts of you, and you realize there is another part of you that exists that you have to contend with and work on and try to grow. But I don't think a lot of people even give it that type of thought.
I think you're right.
I think they just exist on momentum and autopilot most of the time.
I do think we are living in an interesting time
Yeah.
right now with the growth of social media and also the we have the words and to call things now that like a couple
Yes.
generations before us did not have. There was not words for that. They were either unspoken things that nobody talked about, so nobody realized other people were having the same experience, or they were things that were, just normalized, right? Like, oh, that's just how it is,
Right.
and that's, it was not quite accepted behavior, but it was just like something that didn't get questioned. And now I think because we have the ability to interact with each other and people are sharing so much that I do think that there's a lot of people realizing there's a whole inner thing going on.
I think it is becoming more of a thing. I mean, our kids are definitely more aware of it. I don't know, about
Mine
how,
too.
but I feel like it is becoming a thing because we do have this language for it now, and people are able to share their experience that in such a way that people are beginning to be able to relate, but that does create its own problems. And I wrote an article on that, but it really does create its own problems. But
So one of the
get into that
things I think too that's different about our culture now, which is so strange for us to think about, is that we have not been involved in any type of real war situation where multitudes of our population have been sent off to horrific PTSD inducing situations and then brought back and then expected to just cope and deal. And then that trauma gets spread out through families and causes people, generational traumas that go along. We haven't had that for some time. We had World War II there in the early turn of the century, to the early mid part, then the Korean War, and then the Vietnam War. All together, where big swaths of our male populations were sent off, went through war, and going through war and being a nation in war like that, it creates situations where people are bringing that PTSD back home, and PTSD affects your ability to express your emotions. So people have not even, when you're in a wartime situation or an intensely stressful situation, you're not aware of other parts of yourself except for the survival mode part of yourself. And then that's what gets stuck in the on position when you have PTSD, as you're in survival mode all the time. We have had war since then, but it's not been the same. And it's not involved that massive amount of our population.
Right.
So we're also in a time now, like post sending most of our men to war, that we're actually getting a moment to self-reflect and not live in survival mode and see more and discover more of the parts of ourself. And we have a mechanism to communicate that better than we ever have before through social media and through other platforms. So we not only do we have a chance to stop and breathe and become aware, but we also have the capability to share that awareness now with other people. I mean, it's not uncommon at all to see people in their 20s on social media expressing these different parts of themselves.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's almost common now for people to talk about trauma responses, for people to talk about OCD and being neurodivergent. And while they may get a lot of things incorrect, they're still trying to have the conversation.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Which means that there are words to actually have the conversation with, where before there just weren't those words. So people are now becoming more self-aware. But it's like, what do you do with it once you get it? Because you can be self-aware and still lie to yourself.
Well, yes, and especially like as far as in the mental health community, when you don't really have you have the research and stuff to back it up, but you don't really have there's so much of that variety. Like you don't have clear boundaries on those types of things. So it's just like everybody's kind of making up their own thing.
Well, people are talking about their experiences, and unfortunately, some people take their experiences and then want to extrapolate that over everybody else's experiences or give it a name and then speak on it like they're an expert on something. I think it's great.
And you are an expert on your experience.
On your
It doesn't
experience.
mean that that's the way that it is for everybody else. And I think it's such a great thing that all that's happening. I just think that, and I think that other people who are speaking out on that feel the same way. Like, there needs to be some professional boundaries in there and help there so that people can get that
Some guidance at least.
Yes, yeah.
But I think, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to say, like, that it's this double-edged sword, right? Because we were kind of talking about
Yeah.
how, on one hand, you've got people doing a whole lot of self-diagnosing,
Yeah.
which can be problematic because you can apply things that, and generalize things that don't necessarily apply there without that professionalism. On the converse side of it,
yeah.
it's also pushed the medical community to start accepting things that they were reluctant to start
Exactly.
incorporating in because the populace has been doing their own research and looking at other countries and what they're doing and being like, hey, here's these other things that are happening that are what comes to my mind is with psychedelic mushrooms,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Like
Yeah,
as a
treatment for like depression.
PTSD and depression,
Yeah.
and that they've been using it for veterans and with a lot of success with them helping to cope with their traumas, right? But for a long time, that was something the medical community was not going to accept as a medical alternative, and it's just within the last decade that they've really started looking into it as like they are.
Yeah,
Right.
sure, absolutely. So it gives this opportunity for expansion and growth and discovery when you have a nation that's not so focused on just trying to win a war or just trying to suck it up and be the best we can be economically or working all the time. It's about trying to learn more about yourself, and it's going to get messy in that learning about yourself. But even in the learning about yourself, I think one of the primary things you have to learn is it's unacceptable to lie to yourself. When you lie to yourself, you're hurting you, but you're also hurting the other people around you who could benefit from you being better.
Yep.
And so when you lie to yourself, you have to then like self-reflect and go, why did I just do that? Why did I feel the need to tell myself I was going to go do something I had no intention of ever really doing?
It's making phone calls for me.
Yeah, making a phone call. Why? Because you hate it so much?
Well, because I was in therapy the other day, and I was like, I need to make a bunch of phone calls today, but I know I won't do it. And then I was like, I know I'm gonna try to. I really am, but I already know I'm not gonna do it.
Well, you didn't lie to yourself.
So I was like, I already know I'm not gonna do it. I can just feel it. You can just feel those days where you're like, you're not gonna do that. You want to, and you're gonna try to make yourself, but you're not gonna do it. And that was one of those days, and I was like, well, no, I'm not gonna do it today.
But at least that's not lying to yourself. That's at least indicating that, yeah, that's probably not getting done today. So it's better than just saying like, yeah, I'm going to do that. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Because once you learn to stop trusting yourself, then who can you really trust at that point? If you cannot be consistent with yourself and open with yourself, and then also follow through with the things you're going to do, you're not likely going to do it well for other people.
No.
Now there are other people that will sacrifice themselves completely but not do anything for themselves, but that's not healthy.
No, that's not healthy.
That usually ends up
That's
in
a
a
trauma response.
It is, and it usually gets you ended up in a narcissistic situation because
Yeah.
people who love the fact that you don't have any boundaries, they want you in a relationship with them because they can tell you to do whatever you want, and they can use your own self-guilt against you. So it's just better off to learn to tell yourself the truth for your own sake and for the sake of the people around you.
And the only way to do that is self-reflection and being honest with yourself within that self-reflection.
So asking yourself difficult questions.
Yeah.
And just start off with the most simple difficult questions, which is, why did I just do that?
Right, exactly. Well, or you can download A Lovely Pause's free journal prompts for self-reflection this month by signing up for our email list on alovelypause.com.
A Lovely Pause, PAUSE.com. All right, cool. Hey, well, that went by awful
It
fast.
did.
Where are we at on time, Kindred? Pretty close, aren't we?
6 minutes.
All right, so we're pretty close. So, did we have any questions that we needed to answer? Or are we pretty good on those? I'm not asking you to find one. You don't have to get all big-eyed and scared.
She's like, I don't know where
If
the
you had
question.
one, I was going to answer it. If not, I can do a 3-minute ending to this, and we'll be good. I'm going to take that as you read the list as a no. If you need counseling services, we are here to help. You can contact us on our Facebook page, Affinity Counseling Services, AFFINITY, or you can reach us by phone, 870-324-5122. If you want to reach us in Kennett, Missouri, it is 573-840-0440. Or counselingwithaffinity.com if you
Yep.
want to sign up on the wait list there.
Online.
Anything else we need to address?
I don't know. I guess that's it.
We got an interview tomorrow with a new therapist. That's pretty cool.
We do. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we got a lot of good things
Oh, yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
We good on everything? What are we talking about next week?
Oh, next week is a new topic. It's February.
Oh, it is February.
Yeah, next month we're talking about growing your relationship.
Ooh.
And next week's topic is supposed to be, as long as COVID and snow doesn't happen,
COVID and snow.
we are going to be talking about, it's called Love Me, Love Me Not. And we're going to be talking about the 5 love languages and knowing your love languages and why it's important. And that's what we're going to talk about next week.
Cool. All right. See you all next week. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.